Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the first episode of League Chat with the Stat for season 2021. Now, I know the last time you guys saw me, it's been a while actually. Last time you saw me, I had the crazy moustache going on for November. I was actually bald, so I didn't have much hair, but look, we've brought a different look into this year, so put a bit of hair at the top, nice little beard happening, but look, we're just excited. It's good to be here. We're so excited to be back once again for season 2021. Now, we ended the year with them and we're going to start the year with them. This episode is brought to you by Latitude Accountants. Now, as I said, I know these boys are Latitude Accountants. When you meet these boys, you know that they were born to be accountants. They're fanatical Parramatta supporters and they're able to assist you with any of your accounting needs. If you're looking for a new accountant, don't be afraid to call Mick or Pat on 02 9890 9040. That number again, 02 9890 9040. But just before I get started, just pretty cool jersey that Latitude sent over to me. So you can see it here. I'll bring it over to the middle. Latitude Accountants, pretty sick. Look, they've given me jersey 15. Usually I think I'm a starting 11 or 12, but look, we'll obviously sort that out with them. But now thank you boys for your support, and excited to start the year with quite the bang. We're only 20 odd days away from the NRL season to start, so let's get straight into it. So what we're going to be doing over the next few episodes is we're going to be recapping all the teams. We're going to be starting from 16th to 13th, will be one episode, 12th to 9th the second, 8th to 5th the third, and 4th to 1 the last. And we're going to be recapping these teams for where they finished in their place in 2020. The aim is to just give a recap, see what's going on, see if they've got any injuries prior to round one, and how they're looking and how they'll go for season 2021. So, thank you so much again for joining me. As I said, it's been a while. We've obviously bought up some new equipment, so over the off season I definitely got busy and had some people hook up with me some new equipment, so shout out to those guys who know who you are. Now, getting straight into it, we're talking, the first club we're going to be speaking about is the Brisbane Broncos. Finished 16th in season 2020. They have made a few buys in the new era of Kevin Walters, so they gained Dale Copley from the Titans, John Asiata from the Cowboys, David Mead from Catalan's Dragons, and Isaiah Tass from the Bulldogs. They also got Ahava Pulu, and they've also got Albert Kelly on training trial contracts. Now, they have made some shedding of their salary cap from what I can see. It's a lot of losses here, but will be good for their salary cap moving forward. They've defeated to the Gold Coast Titans. Matt Gillette retired beginning of the year. Darius Boyd retired as well. Sean O'Sullivan is actually moved over to the New Zealand Warriors. You got Jack Bird, who's headed to the St. George of the Warrior Dragons, and Joe Offahengawi, who's moved to the West Tigers. Now, it's a new year for the Brisbane Broncos with new beginnings. Now, Kevin Walters has been the man to take place of Anthony Seibold in what had been an absolute horrendous year for the Broncos. I'm very excited for Kevin Walters to come in and change up everything. Now, he made a few points when he had started. He said that we've got to bring everyone in it together. It's not just the players, but it's everyone in admin, to the sponsors, to everyone involved in the club. They must be in to make this club great again. Now, obviously, with the year they had last year, they finished 16th, and they were just hopeless all year. But look, it's a new era. It's a club for new beginnings, and it's a time that they can start to look to the up and start improving and start looking to just be able to bounce back from what was a horrible year last year. Now, this is a few questions that obviously a lot of people are asking, so I want to answer it here for you. So, now with Kevin Walters at the club, he's obviously brought in new coaching staff, but what does that mean for the likes of Anthony Milford? Now, back in 2015, Kevin Walters was actually with the Broncos and was assistant coach to Wayne Bennett at the time. And what had happened was, when he was coaching at the time, he was the assistant coach, and he actually helped Milford get to where he was that year, and he played phenomenal that year in 2015. Unlucky for them to lose the grand final. But since then, Anthony Milford has been really poor over the last few years. Been hampered with a lot of injuries, had a lot of personal things going on as well. And he's actually off contract at the end of the year. You know, he's on $1 million a season. He hasn't lived up to the hype. It's Kevin Walters' job to bring him back to where he needs to be. And because once Anthony Milford's firing, the whole team's firing. Now, with Anthony Milford, I do believe he can bring back his best form. I really do. Having a look here, and just how he's been and the history he's got with Kevin Walters, this year's a make or break for him. Now, I do believe that the next contract he'll be looking at will not be anywhere near the $1 million mark. It's pretty fair to say, considering he's been consistently poor the last few years. But look, I do believe Kevin Walters will be the man to bring Anthony Milford back to his best. Now, you've got a couple of players here. So you've got Jermaine Osaka, who will be starting fullback for round one. It was between him and Tessie New for the round one at fullback spot. Fortunately, due to Katoni Stagg's ACL injury, Tessie New had been training in the centres all year. With him training in the centres all year, it means that Jermaine Osaka will get first crack at number 1, and Tessie New will go into jersey number 3. Now, Jermaine Osaka had been re-signed for 4 years, a few years back when Wayne Bennett was in charge, grooming him the next fullback after Darius Boyd. Now, Kevin Walters obviously is thinking the same thing here and is looking at Osaka to bring his game to a new level. Last year, he sat out most of the year due to family reasons. I know his father passed away as one of the few reasons, which is obviously very unfortunate. But his confidence had been down as well. He had been dropped a couple of times due to his performances. But taking a look here and taking a look at seeing how they've been training for season 2021, it's definitely exciting to see Jermaine Osaka get back into better shape, get around the club again. As I said, new people in the club, new coaches, new staff, just brings back some good times for Jermaine Osaka. So he'll be looking to fire at fullback this year, and with Anthony Milford and Tom Dearden in the halves and Jake Turpin starting 9, they could look to potentially do some damage. So Jermaine Osaka will be looking forward to just getting out there, brushing off the cobwebs and bringing in a new year for the Bronx. Now, Jordan Riki, he played a few games last year under Anthony Seibold in the starting second row. He actually played really well. He's actually in contention at the moment with their man Alex Glenn for a starting spot. Now, it would be crazy to see Jordan Riki starting over Alex Glenn, but crazy things have happened in the past. So Jordan Riki will be looking to potentially start the year in jersey 11 or 12, which could be gun for those playing Supercoach. Could be exciting for him to take up that role and punch out maybe 60 to 65 minutes per game, which is good. So from their signings, a lot of it is depth signings. So they've got David Mead and Dale Copley, who are more experienced. But the one I like is John Asiata. He's a ball-playing lock. He can play 5'8", can play anywhere in the back row, covers lock really well. And he's a very pivotal signing for the Broncos. We'll be able to change up their attack a little bit. My personal opinion is I believe Patrick Carrigan will start the year at 13 and John Asiata will come from the bench. Asiata will insert himself into the game. I know he wants to be a starting lock, but the impact he brings off the bench will be really pivotal for the Broncos, and having that ball-playing ability as well will actually help them out a lot. Now, they will start the year without Payne Haas, who obviously got involved in the incident with the police. Now, he'll be missing for the first 3 games and copying that $50,000 fine. Payne Haas can change the game. The way he carries that ball, the meters he makes, the tackles, he was their man last year. Alongside Carrigan, Payne Haas was their go-to man just to get the Broncos out of trouble. And every week he punched out over 200 meters. He was playing 80 minutes, which Kevin Walters will look to drop that a little bit and get him playing anywhere between 60 to 70 just to get him more consistently in between that 60 to 70 minute bracket because he's obviously still very young. He's still a kid at the end of the day. Even though all the responsibility has fallen on him. And yes, while he is on big coin, he will need to step up, but he did fantastic last year, and I have no doubt once he gets back from suspension, he'll be able to continue that this year. Now, the Broncos, I do see that they will do a lot better this year. As I said, bringing in one of their own in Kevin Walters, one of their own. They bring in a new coaching staff. They've got some good players and some experience in the back as well. And they've got money to spend. So they have money to spend to obviously bring in new players into the club for season 2022 and beyond. And it'll be good, obviously, for them. Obviously to bounce back from what was a horrible year last year. And with COVID now almost eliminated in Queensland, they can bring in some big crowds, which can hopefully get them over the line. Now, moving over to the second of 4 clubs that we're recapping in this episode. Moving on to the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, my beloved Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. They've had a very busy off-season. They've signed Nick Kotrick from the Raiders, Corey Waddell from the Sea Eagles, Cole Flanagan from the Sydney Roosters, which I think is their best buy, Jack Hetherington from the Panthers, and Corey Allen from the South Sydney Rabbitohs, which is a very, very good signing for the Dogs. However, they obviously lost a few players. They lost Kieran Foran over to the Manly Sea Eagles, Isaiah Tass, as I said, to Brisbane, Jack Cogger moved over to Huddersfield Giants, Aidan Tolman signed the 1-year deal with the Sharks, Kieran Holland has retired, Marcelo Montoya has headed across the ditch to the Warriors, and Sawaso Su has signed with the Newcastle Knights. Now, just like the Broncos, the Bulldogs have a new coach in Trent Barrett, having looked through thus far and seeing the impact he's had on the team so far, Trent Barrett has recruited really well. You can see that he has come in, obviously experienced a lot at Manly Sea Eagles, but has come in, brought in his own coaching staff, Dave Ferner, David Tangatoa, I believe, just to bring in new guys around the club to bring the Bulldogs back to the top. And we've had a rubbish few years, so look, I wasn't confident in the beginning of Trent Barrett actually being the one to take over, but with the recruitment he's done so far, he's been very wise. He's even signed Matt Burton and Josh Adokar from 2022. That'll be for next year. We won't dwell on that. Penrith is still playing hardball with Matt Burton, of him coming to the Bulldogs. So for what it is, we'll get Matt Burton and Adokar in 2022. Now, there's still, looking at the Bulldogs side, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. So one of the questions is obviously signing someone like Kyle Flanagan, who I thought had a very good year at the Roosters. Who would partner him? Who would be the best player to come in and be able to help him at his game and develop better? Look, viewing what I had seen last year, Lachlan Lewis wasn't good, and I don't think he'd be the one coming in. Brendan Wakeham would be a potential utility player, come in 15, 20 minutes, inject himself into the game and create something. But the man I'm going with is Jake Averillo. Jake Averillo played the last 2 or 3 games last year. Apart from the last game against the Penrith Panthers where we lost 42-0, he looked like a threat in attack. We scored a few more points than we had done all year, just with him being at 5'8" and just controlling the team. So I would be going Jake Averillo at number 6 with Kyle Flanagan number 7. Signing Kyle Flanagan will, obviously, with his experiences taken from the Roosters, he'll be able to have the Bulldogs guided around the park. Obviously, our pack isn't as experienced, but look, Jack Hetherington, I believe, is a good signing as well. He will come in, he's very tough, has an old school mentality, attitude. Reminds me a lot of the attitude of Marco Mealy. Something that the Bulldogs have lacked over the last few years. So we've sped up on our backs as well, obviously signing Nick Kotrick and Corey Allen in decent positions as well. So it's good. So the Bulldogs have made the right changes, have gotten rid of the right people and brought in the right people to rebuild. And at the end of the day, while we're not expecting absolute fireworks from the Bulldogs, we are expecting them to sit anywhere between 9th and 12th this year. Dylan Napa, now he has been pretty average since he's joined the Bulldogs. Wasn't what he was when he was at the Roosters. Now, he was the guy that was tipped to take over David Clemmer, who left to Newcastle Knights, and we groomed him to be a massive signing for us, and unfortunately, he hasn't lived up to it. Trent Barrett sees a lot of potential in Dylan Napa. He's off contract this year as well. He's on $600,000, I believe, this year, so it's quite a bit of coin. So Trent Barrett sees a lot of value in Dylan Napa, and I do think if anyone can take Napa's game to another level, it would be Trent Barrett, seeing as though Napa's struggled with confidence over the last few years, and he hasn't been the same player that we have seen him be at the Roosters, and obviously that same player who made the Queensland side. So Napa will be very influential for us, especially with Luke Thompson missing the first 4 weeks due to the biting James Tamo's ear from last year's game. Now, Dylan Napa, look, while it doesn't look like he can, Barrett hasn't made any mistakes thus far, and I'm looking to see what he'll be able to use with Napa to change up his style a little bit and to make him a dominant forward. Because that's what the Bulldogs need. Jack Hetherington, Corey Waddell, players that have just come into the club, and as well as, the players we've got Raymond Fatala-Mariner, we've got Joe Stimson, we've got players like that who can look to these forwards and can look to Napa for that experience, because he's got the most experience in the club in terms of the forward pack alongside Josh Jackson. So Napa can take his game to another level. It all comes down to obviously him. But Barrett sees a lot of value in him, and it'll be interesting to see how Napa will go for this year. Now, Luke Thompson, obviously being suspended for the first 4 weeks. My personal opinion is I believe he's best at lock. Saw him play in the prop, and I thought it was actually okay, but when he was lock, he was a lot better. I found him that he's more of a lock than he is a prop. With Adam Elliott coming back into the side after being injured all last year, I believe he will get the starting locked position. And Luke Thompson would be someone coming off the bench. But if I had to choose a position for Luke Thompson, he would definitely be playing lock. And another player there, Dylan Martinez-Lesniak, he was shopped around for a good 3 to 6 months last year. He's on $550,000 a season. He's on pretty decent coin. he needs to be back to his best. But he's worked with Trent Barrett in the past, and Trent Barrett has obviously helped him with his game back when he was at Penrith. So I'm excited to see what Tennis Lesniak will be able to achieve this year. I do believe he's strictly a winger. I don't believe he's a centre. I believe the centres that Bulldogs will go with will be Nick Kotrick and William Papawati. And then Tennis Lesniak and Nick Meaney will be the wingers, with Tui Katoa sniffing around, and you've got Corey Allen coming in at fullback. Now, I mean, it's exciting times for the Bulldogs. Obviously, starting a rebuild and being part of something different with a lot of new faces. As I said, they'll sit anywhere between 9th to 12th this year. I'm not expecting top 4 finish. I'm not expecting anything crazy, but I'm expecting improvement from the last 4 years. There's definitely signs of improvement there, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Trent Barrett and the coaching staff can do with this club. And with the right signings, the right people, see the Bulldogs get back to the top once again. Moving over to North Queensland Cowboys. Now, they've signed Lachlan Burr from the New Zealand Warriors, and they've signed Kane Bradley from the West Tigers. But that's all they've signed. So not much experience and not many changes from the team they've had last year. They have lost, however, Gavin Cooper, who has retired. John Asiata has gone to the Broncos, as I've mentioned. Tom Opicic is headed to the Parramatta Eels, and Tuki Simpkins was headed over to the Tigers in that swap with Kane Bradley. Now, again, it's the third club we've discussed in this episode, and a third club with a new coach. These teams finished 16th, 15th, and Cowboys finished 14th, and these 3 teams have new coaches. So Todd Payten, who I thought did a decent job for the Warriors last year, considering the circumstances, having been away from home and having played away from New Zealand the whole year, I thought, especially the second half of the year, they were outstanding. Different attitude. Payten had them playing with a lot more confidence. And so Cowboys see him as someone that can take the club back to the finals, since obviously Jonathan Thurston took them to that grand final back in 2015. So Todd Payten, very quiet in recruitment, obviously not having much money to move around with the salary cap, as a lot of the players are locked on with some decent coin. But he's looking for improvement in a side that were very disappointing in 2020. Now, they did have a lot of injuries. Michael Morgan was down most of the year. Joe Clifford was dropped. Scott Drinkwater got injured at times. Valentine Holmes missed the rest of the season. So once these guys are fit and firing in a full preseason together, they should be going better than what they were last year. Now, Michael Morgan is one of the men that they need to stay on the field consistently week in, week out. He's had issues with his shoulders and his knees, but he's been injury-free this whole preseason. So it's exciting to see him running around all of the off-season, training hard and getting his body right for what's going to be another tough year. But he needs to stay injury-free to help his half-partner Scott Drinkwater, just to have that consistency in their spine. You've got Valentine Holmes at fullback, fighting with Hamilton Tabuai-Fidow, who's been training in the centres. You've got Jake Clifford, who's still waiting on the wings, Dejan Arce, who's still waiting on the wings, and you've got Ruben Cotter with Jake Granville as their hookers. So if their spine can be settled for most of the year, they'll have more success than they did last year. It's just staying healthy and getting right. Now, I've had to shut down this debate of who should be fullback, Valentine Holmes or Hamilton Tabuai-Fidow. If I had to pick one, I'd have to pick Valentine Holmes. He's had that experience prior. I do see him as a winger. Unfortunately, the Cowboys don't have anyone else that could go with a bit more experience into fullback. Hamilton Tabuai-Fidow is only 18, 19 years old. Only played a couple games at fullback, and he's still very young. So he's been training in the centres. Todd Payton's got him training in the centres for season 2021, which will be interesting to see what they do with their backline. And Valentine Holmes will be the one training at fullback, and he'll be playing fullback come round 1. Now, with him being able to goal kick as well, which will be big for the Cowboys. But not only that, he came mid-preseason last year from the NFL. So with a full preseason under his belt, I'm expecting nothing but the best from Valentine Holmes, and I'm sure he'll be able to produce that and be a lot better and have more confidence for the club this year. Another player who needs more confidence was Isaan Masters. Signed over from the Tigers, released a year early from his deal to head back home to the Cowboys, and he was very poor last year. Can Todd Payten bring him back to where he needs to be? I believe it can't get worse for him here. I truly believe that with the way Masters played last year, he could have played a lot better. Got dropped a couple times and was in and out of the squad. But he needs to fly this year. He's got no excuses. He's at home. He's from Queensland. He's home now. So Another big preseason for him. I believe he should be playing a lot better and a lot more confidence than he was last year. Now, last question, Jason Talbololo. He's that 80-minute player, week in, week out, has been doing that for the last couple of years. Todd Payton has now come out and has said that Jason Talbololo will be playing anywhere between 50 to 60 minutes to change up his game a little bit. Now, Jason Talbololo has obviously played a lot of first grade. He's very experienced. He's the most experienced one in their forward pack. And he usually helps them get out of their trouble zones with his go forward. He's a freak of an athlete. But utilizing him for 80 minutes, 75 to 80 minutes every week, especially of how big he is as well, does take a toll on his body. So Todd Payton wants him going back to 50 to 60 minutes of game time. Was kind of similar to how Talbololo was back in 2015 when he had played the grand final and that grand final season with the Cowboys. He was only playing 50 to 60 minutes. So Payton wants to bring him right back into that and give some younger kids a go. You know, Francis Molo will be able to, who played a role last year, and you've got Lachlan Burr, who will be able to be more dominant for the forward pack for Cowboys, which will be able to help Talbololo be a leader on the field, talk a bit more, and get his work done in 50 to 60 minutes. So I'm expecting better things from Cowboys. I still don't think they'd make the 8, but I am expecting better things from the Cowboys and a bit more consistency in the year. The last club that we'll cover for this episode, mainly Warringah Sea Eagles. They finished 13th in season 2020, and they have made quite a few buys and have actually lost a bit of experience as well. So they've signed Kieran Foran from the Bulldogs, they've signed Andrew Davey from the Parramatta Eagles, they've signed Josh Aloye from the West Tigers, they've got Jason Saab from the Dragons, and Christian Tuipulotu from the Roosters. Some decent signings there for the backs, even in the halves, and also some 1-2 forwards in Josh Aloye and Andrew Davey. Now they have lost Corey Waddell to the Bulldogs, Adam Fanua-Blake has gone to the Warriors, Joel Thompson has headed over to the English Super League playing for St Helens. Albert Hopewadi has signed with the Canberra Raiders. Luke Metcalf has gone to Sharks, and Jada Anderson was released to head back home to Queensland earlier last year. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me this about Kieran Foran. Now, yes, when Kieran Foran was at the Bulldogs, he was huge for us. But he only played 18 odd games in 3 years. Paying him $1 million a season, if you look at it and you think about it, not worth it. But his presence on the field was huge for us. When he played for the Bulldogs and he was on fire, we looked better in attack. We looked like more of a threat. With Kieran Foran going into the Sea Eagles, he's reunited with Daly Cherry-Evans and Des Hasler. Being reunited with them is obviously a bit nostalgic, but they know what it takes to get back to the top. Foran has obviously won a grand final with Cherry-Evans, with Des Hasler back 2011, so they know what needs to be done in order to ensure some success over there. Now, Foran was signed to play jersey number 9. Doesn't look like he will be. He will be playing in the halves alongside Daly Cherry-Evans. And from what I've been hearing that Cade Cust has been training a lot in 9, as well as Lachlan Croker. And they've still got Josh Shooter, who's obviously their young kid who debuted for them last year and played very well, training with them for 5/8 as well. So it's interesting time. So who would play hooker? I believe that it would be one of the other between Cade Cust and Lachlan Croker. I do believe Cade Cust has more value, especially in his game. He played some outstanding games for the Eagles last year, covering in the halves with Cherry-Evans. So I do believe he'd be the front runner for the hooker spot. Now, the big question over there is about Tom Truboyevic. Had many struggles with his hamstring over the last couple of years. Came back from that hamstring injury and then did his shoulder. He hasn't played a consistent year in a while and hasn't played a run of more than 5-6 games in a long time. So when Tom Truboyevic is on the field, the Sea Eagles are very different in attack. Now it's just about him trying to play some consistent football, getting some decent game time under his belt, with his hamstring stronger than ever now, and have gone to Melbourne and the different places to make sure his hamstring is 100%. We're going to have a big year from Tom Truboyevic, and I'm really excited because he's a player that can change the game. He's influential. He's a great fullback, fantastic in defense, and he's just dynamite in attack, which then complements Cherry-Evans as well in his game and takes a bit of the load off him so that Truboyevic can do what he needs to do. So he will be vital. I believe he'll be very vital for the Sea Eagles, especially for this year with all the signings they've got as well. Now, Josh Aloye, obviously there was a big fuss with him signing with the Sea Eagles, and if you guys saw the last podcast of the year, I absolutely went berserk and I said what I needed to say in regards to the contract situations. You can go back checking our YouTube link, and it's all over the social media platforms and podcasting platforms as well for you to hear. So Josh Aloiai is the replacement for Fanua Blake. Can he bring a similar game to what Fanua Blake did? I don't believe he can bring a similar game, but the way he played for the Tigers last year was very good. It was his best year, as I said, for the Tigers. Yeah, he was dynamite in attack, carried the ball really well, and gained a lot of meters for the Tigers as well. So I believe he'd be very good for the Seagulls. I do believe Fanua Blake is a better player, but Josh Aloiai is a pretty handy replacement if they had to pick anyone to cover for Fanua Blake. George Taufua won't be back till about April, May, after doing his Achilles last year, and he had a very poor year as well. So with the signings of Jason Saab, Christian Tuipulotu, and also having Tavita Funa and Ruben Garrick, it's going to be interesting to see who gets those backline spots. Now, from what I've heard, Jason Saab has trained the house down. Being 2 meters tall, covering the wing, he has similar attributes to Daniel Tupou of the Roosters. So everyone, from what I've been hearing, that he would be starting the year off in the wing position, which would be unlucky for players like Tavita Funa, who played decent last year, and for Ruben Garrick, who was the goal kicker and was pretty good in 2019, only to have struggled a little bit in 2020. So the Seagulls, look, with Kieran Four in there, having a bit more experience, I do believe they'll be better than 13th. I think they'll finish again in that 9 to 12 region. I don't see them getting any better than that. If they do, and if they stay injury free, obviously, anything can happen. But from analysing their side and looking at their depth, I think 9 to 12 would be the most appropriate to see where the Seagulls will sit for the year. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on our first episode of 2021 of League Chat with the Stat. You guys will know we're all over the podcasting streams, which will be in the YouTube link as well. We are on Facebook and Instagram as well, so just share it around with your friends and family. Obviously, you got your support last year was huge. We had over 200 downloads of our podcasts last year, which was great, and obviously something unexpected, but we go bigger and better. So we've got big things planned for this year. I'll be bringing in a new segment, which is soon to come as the year goes on. So get excited for that, guys. We'll be releasing more information about a tipping competition that could be happening as well. So we're getting ready for an exciting year, and obviously it's good to be back in the hot seat, good to be back here for season 2021, and good to be just behind the mic again, just recapping every club and just doing what I do best and breaking all the news to you guys firsthand. Guys, as I said, thank you for joining me. You have yourselves a good one. We'll tune in for the next episode, and we'll be covering another 4 clubs in part 2 of the 2020/2021 season reviews. Have a good one, guys. Take care.